Welcome to LaunchBase, a fast-paced podcast exploring the latest in tech funding and product launches. In under 30 minutes, we break down key trends, interview industry leaders, and uncover what's driving the next wave of innovation. And now your host, John Radford.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of LaunchBase. This is the podcast that dives into all things tech in under 30 minutes. I'm your host, John Radford, and each week I will be talking to individuals and leaders shaping the tech landscape. So today, this is a big one. I'm excited to be joined by Dan Bowyer. Yeah, a big one. Boom shakalaka, as he said. So Dan is a partner at Superseed, and he's at the forefront of early stage investing, backing ambitious founders and cutting edge technology companies. B2B, I think, Dan, is, if that's correct.
All business software.
Always, yeah. Okay. And Dan's got a wealth of experience spanning entrepreneurship and venture capital. So today we're going to explore Dan's approach to investing, what he looks for in a startup, success stories, the evolving. I'm afraid we're not going to dodge around it. We're going to talk about AI, unfortunately, just a little bit. We're not going to make it all about AI. That's boring. And whether cold outreach still works in today's market. Dan, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, pleasure. I know what it's like putting these pods together, and it's all brilliant that you're doing it. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for being on. Dan, how was that intro? Perhaps you can expand on it a little bit and fill in some gaps for us, and just give a bit of context to you, Superseed, what you do, and where you've come from.
Okay, I'll work backwards. So Superseed, early stage VC, pre-seed seed, mainly seed, 1.5 to 2.5 million, early check sizes, industrial. So we like the behind the scenes, agriculture, supply chain, manufacturing, industry 4.0, all that boring, unsexy stuff.
Ugly businesses.
The ugly stuff. So we do that with that. We do all the stuff that people don't read about in the Daily Mail. That's how I explain it to my friends. That's the stuff we do behind the scenes. Early stage. And we've just launched, well, I'm just about to launch, so going even earlier. So pre-rev, pre-product, and do some first checks into startups, because I love that world. And I haven't done it for years. I've done it for like 10 years and I love it. So going back into that world, and same thesis, anything that's meaningful, productivity, efficiency, that's going to change how we do things in business. And
Amazing.
Before that, built and sold 4 businesses, nothing massive to shake the trees too much about, but made enough money to travel the world, have some fun, do some nice things, invest in startups, and built incubators, accelerators. And I've been founding and investing for over 30 years. And I love just the kick, bollock, and scramble. I love the mess. I love the whole, this is where the innovation happens. This is where the magic happens. It's not in like late stage or PE or kind of, public markets. It's all in this early innovative stuff where we're constantly reinventing. That's the stuff that I love.
Yeah. And so what are you classing as early then?
Well, early for Superseed, it tends to be 500K to $1 million post-product, possibly pre-revenue, possibly slight post a bit of revenue. So early, as far as Superseed is concerned, is product, probably a little bit of revenue, but maybe not much or some, all the way through to Series A. But what I'm now bolting on is this, pre-revenue, pre-product, nappies, back of a napkin stuff. So I'm going full stack there. And then what I'd like to do with future funds is go beyond that and take our founders all the way through to either exit or IPO, whatever it might be. So
you're turning
that's
this into
a game.
We're talking now then a 0 to 2 type thing, essentially.
Well, it's still currently 0 to 1, but I'd like to go 0 to 10.
Yeah,
within 10 years, I'd like to be able to back our founders all the way, and
Amazing.
then invest in other funds and actually create the. So what I really want to see for UK and Europe is the kind of the startup founder mafia. So you get the Skype mafia, the PayPal mafia, the whatever mafia. You get all these kind of founders that recycle, and I want to create that in Europe if we can. It'll take a generation to get there, but we, as in 20 odd years, but we will. There's so much talent in Europe.
Yeah.
We just need to create that full stack investment way of thinking and de-risk a bit and get amongst it a bit and get into sales mode a bit and Americanise if I can.
Okay, so I'm going to pick up on the de-risk and the American bit, because that I'm pleased you said that, because how do you, in your mind, de-risk it, and what is the difference between, say, us and the Yanks? For me, it's kind of that they've got this kind of risk. Well, they've got the risk capital, but they've got the risk appetite as well that we perhaps haven't got in the UK, or perhaps I'm totally wrong on that. And you as someone who actually puts the money down.
You're right. The hard and ugly story is that we de-risk by shipping to the States. Nearly all of our portfolio within 18 months either moves there or sets up satellite, or they're selling, raising and exiting in America. I don't want to do that. I want that to happen in Europe, but we have no growth capital in Europe, and we have nowhere to publicly list in Europe.
Yeah.
So at the moment, the de-risking piece is shipping to the States because they sell, they build, they do. It's not, people think of it as like this kind of utopian, wonderful land of sunshine and unicorn farts. It's not. It's hard. I mean, it's still hard to raise. It's still hard to sell. It's still hard to do. And the competition is, massive.
Of course it is.
But they have that. They have that liquidity. They have that fluidity in all of their systems. And what people I don't think know is that Europe gets a bad rap for so many government bodies or government investors being in startups, but the States is no different. The States has got a total deficit, I think, of $32 trillion. And a big chunk of that, even recently through the IRA, CHIPS Act, other business, government to business dealings, there was massive subsidies from government into innovation startups. So, and that's how VC started in the Valley. A lot of it was government subsidized.
Mm-hmm.
We get a bit hung up on, government investors in the UK and Europe. It's like, yeah, but that's how the Americans do it. And they do it all through a lot of debt and all through a lot of borrowing. So we just need to be a little bit more mindful of all this and a bit more kind of in amongst it and sales, which will take a generation to change mindsets. But the government is making all the noises. They're not doing anything about it. The UK government is making the noises to invest and deregulate and create that growth strategy. So at least they're making the noises. The EU is the same. Now we've got to turn that into action.
Yeah, so let's talk about that versus, say, Dubai, because everyone's banging on about Dubai at the moment.
There's no money in Dubai.
There's no money in Dubai.
No, it's just nonsense. It's all smoke and mirrors. Don't believe the hype.
No, thank you. Because I see it on LinkedIn all the time. I'm moving to Dubai, blah, blah, blah. And then you look at the actual numbers and it's like tiny compared to the numbers that we've got in
growing?
the UK.
Like Lithuania, Italy, Spain, they're growing. Look at the real numbers behind the numbers. Don't believe the bullshit.
Yeah.
The tech press and the normal press, they need your clicks and eyeballs. So it's salacious nonsense. And Mark Zuckerberg, you can blame him for this because Facebook basically killed traditional reporting and the traditional media because they're looking for eyeballs because the models should be dead. They should be long gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't believe the hype.
Okay, cool. So still plenty of cash knocking around in London, of which some of it you look after.
More than
good. Yeah, exactly. We're like, someone was posting the other day, like, there's San Francisco, there's New York, and then there's London, right? As kind of, if you were going to choose three places to build a startup, and like London would be third, if not second, right?
And Europe is growing 4 times faster than the States. I mean, you look at the numbers over the last decade, Europe is growing at a massive rate compared to America, but they're just 50 years ahead of us. That's all. Yeah. But we've got roughly twice as much capital flowing through London than any other European city. And Europe and I include the UK in that, as a collective, as a continent, is doing extremely well.
Excellent. That's good news. How do I get my hands on some of this money? So let's talk about the traditional super seed of what I know you're doing this new kind of very early stage fund, which we'll get onto in a second, but let's talk about the kind of traditional super seed. As a founder, how do I approach you? How do I get my hands on some of this cash? What are the best tips? What are you looking for? The mistakes that you see often, all of that stuff.
It's a massive question. I could talk about this for days, but the basics are you have to understand what venture capital is. So venture capital is speed of sale, speed of scale. You're a global business. It's a fund returning business. So a venture capitalist will look at an opportunity from anywhere, anyone, whatever, and look at it and go, is this going to return my fund? Is this going to go global? Where are we on the J curve? And if I sprinkle this capital on, is this going to crush the world? Is this going to be a 2,000-3,000x return? So that's what venture capital looks for. If it is a Me Too business, if it is a very nice 2, 5, 10 million pound business, but it's going to be a plodder, it's not going to return that cash in, let's say 5 to 10 years, you really want to get it back in like the 7 years. Fund cycles are 10 plus 1 plus 1, so 12 if you're lucky as a fund manager. But really, as a VC, you need that money back in 7 years. So you need to be public within 7 years, which is incredibly brutal. Founders end up losing control. They end up they're owning very little of their own business. So it can be a brutal journey to go on. But if you want to go venture scale, you want to go global, which I don't think most founders that I meet, I really challenge them on this. Do you really want to build a venture scale business? Do you really want to move to the States? Because that's probably where you're going to end up.
And how many say yes? When they're confronted with that reality, how many people have actually thought about it?
Very, very few, because most founders that I meet don't really understand what VC is or how VC works or what it is. And I didn't really until I've raised capital, and it wasn't till I was like 2 or 3 years into being a VC that I really understand the power law mechanics of how this machine works. And it serves 0.0001% of startups. It serves nobody.
Yeah.
We have a massive funding gap between venture capital and angels. So whatever your route to capital and investment, there's still a space. There's a space between traditional VC and angel or whatever is like syndicates or the next layer down, which needs to be filled by some kind of mechanic. And I'm working on that behind the scenes sideways. But VC, do you want to raise VC? Be very specific about who you want on your cap table. Don't spray and pray. Play our egos, send personal requests. Don't bump to top of inboxes. Don't do all that nonsense, but just be very strategic about your outreach. Try and get warm referrals in, as boring and as hackneyed as that is. You will know somebody that knows somebody. Work all the angles. It's a job on its own, fundraising. But before all of that stuff, and lots you'll see on the social web about how to fundraise, before you do all of that stuff, just ask yourself, do you want to build a venture scale business? Because you can't get off when you're on the track, but you can take a little bit of time, raise a bit of capital, bootstrap a bit, maybe take a grant, be very careful of taking grant money, and get enough kind of traction, understanding of your market, and go, do you know what? This is a venture scale offering. I am going to raise VC. I am going to go global, and then off you go.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not for everybody, and I kind of write about that quite a lot. In that, there's nothing wrong with building, this lifestyle business or whatever you want to call it. And VC is not for everybody, because a lot of founders get into being a founder because they don't want to work for somebody else, or they have this dream and they want to be an entrepreneur and stuff like that. But then when you take on that VC capital, you're still an entrepreneur, but you're beholden to the growth that you're expecting, right?
And I'm going to ride you like Zorro until you make my money.
Yeah, that's right. They kind of want the money back, right? And that's the general idea.
It's not charity, baby.
Yeah,
I don't want a 3x. As an angel, I was happy with a 3-4x return. That was great.
Yeah,
but as a VC, I need 50x, 100x, 300x, and it's hard. It's hard, and most businesses aren't set up for it. Forget the founding team or the market. Most businesses can't do that.
No. Okay, so let's then talk about that kind of getting to the point of you're investing. I'm an investable business. What have I got in terms of product and that sort of thing?
Well, the first thing is about you. So in the early stages, it's about you and the team. So you've seen something. You've lived in a world, you've lived in a domain, you've seen an opportunity, you can just see a future market, because these Pam, Tam, Sam, Som slides are just nonsense. And I have very strong opinions about that, like I do most things. But you can see something which is a market in 5, 10, 15 years' time. It's not now. I don't care about the gazillion dollars now. I care, what is this in 3, 5, 10 years' time? What is the theme or trend that you're leaning into? So are you an impressive individual and team that have seen this vision, that have seen this thing? You're going to make a play for a thing, and it's in the future. And if there is a smart individual team that are kind of domain technical, understand this thing, and they can position it into a market where they can, very comprehensively and eloquently share what that vision looks like, that's the basis. That's the bedrock of it all.
Yeah. So that's that founder market fit, as we call it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beyond that. I mean, founder market, I've met lots of founder market fit founders, but they can't sell. They have no vision. They fit in their industry and they know their industry, but there's other aspects that are missing. So it's founder market fit plus.
Yeah. So you just touched upon a really good one, which is the selling part. And I think a lot of people underestimate just how good they're going to have to be at sales, or how much they're going to have to do it, right?
So it's existential. I mean, it's not, people think of sales as like greasy car salesman in a shiny suit. Sales is how you hire.
Yeah.
It's how you raise. It's how you sell clients. You're constantly in sales mode to inspire, to motivate, to be looking for the angles, fundraising, always be selling. It's all sales if you think of it in the broadest context of the word.
Yeah, absolutely. Because your kind of vision that you're selling to your future employees and everything is all top down, and it all comes from you. And okay. So I've got a product though. So first time founder versus second time founder. Quick thoughts on that one?
Well, hackneyed, cheeseball, second-time founders have been punched in the face enough to kind of understand it the second time. That's why they're generally more successful than first-time founders.
Yeah.
So nothing that I don't think your audience wouldn't know. The only kind of caveat to that is sometimes second-time founders can be a bit lackadaisical or a bit arrogant because they might have made some money, so they still need the chip on the shoulder. They still need to be a slight psychopath. There's still that. It's not quite as simple as second-time founders are more likely to succeed, but they do, because I remember my first business was just a shit show because you're learning 20 skills to run a business and you're running the business and you're fundraising, and it's just a mess. So second-time founders have got a bit of a jump on all that.
I love the psych thing. I say that the best founders always have just the right amount of crazy in them.
Well, I struggle with this because if you look, I don't want a world run by white, male, educated sociopaths like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and all at Peter Thiel. So I've got two small children, so I kind of resent my own job.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, they're the ones that are most likely to succeed, and VC gets a bad rap for not investing in tree hugging, cleaning the water, saving all the babies propositions, but that's not what venture capital is for.
No.
Venture capital is brutal.
Yeah.
And to survive that brutality, you have to almost be of some version of some mentally unwired, disconnected human being, because it's just ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. This is a good picture that we're painting here, though, because it's yeah, but it's often seen as the holy grail and like sort of the end game, and but raising VC is actually just the start, not the end.
Listen, raising capital is not the answer. Sometimes cash will kill you.
Yeah,
too much cash kills you, just like not enough. I mean, you have to find the Goldilocks zone, like you do in most things in life.
Yeah.
So we've had companies that have raised beyond us, graduated from us, and then gone on to raise very substantial Series A's and B's, and then struggled because as a whole, flipping from founder mode into CEO mode is a very different transition. You've got your early stage nightmare, then you learn your craft, you get into founder mode, okay, and then you've got to transition to running a business, and it's really hard.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got a product. What does my product look like for the traditional super seed investments where you're talking about the 500K general ticket sizes? Well,
it's 500 to 2.5. So
500 to 2.5.
Quite broad, because I don't pre-seed and seed. They don't mean anything. I don't like those terms. They're silly. I look at pre-revenue, post-revenue, pre-product market fit, post-product market fit, growth mode, scale mode. So I kind of use different terminology than pre-seed and seed because it's bullshit.
Sure.
But what does it look like? I don't invest in products. I only invest in software. So I don't know about physical things, but
yeah, when I said product, I meant like digital products. Sorry.
Okay. So on the digital product, mate, it's so broad. I don't have any industry needs. So the thesis is very much around productivity and efficiency, which could be in any space, in B2B, in business software. But if you're looking for investment, for me, for the main fund, you need to have a product. You need to have an opinion as to how this is going to be sold.
Yeah.
You need to have a strong thesis around go-to-market. You need to have a team that can deliver on it, and some version of, LOIs, letters of intent, are kind of pointless, but there needs to be some indication of market pull, or you've got a thesis as to how this new world is going to unfold because of you and because of your product. But it could be anything. It could be anything post-product in any sector or any space for me. But the lens is, how is this going to change the world? How is this going to transform how we work, how the world works? And how is this going to become a big business? So that's always the VC lens, is how does this go venture scale? Where are the inflection points? Where are you on the J curve? What needs to happen down here that's going to create that uplift and that hockey stick? What is it? Is it a sales engine? Is it product 2? Is it territory 3? Is it feature 4? How does that? And that's often a conversation. We don't expect founders to have all the answers, because nobody can. Even the best founders in the world are pedaling very hard underneath the water. It's just always an unholy mess, but that's the lens.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about actually the tech itself a little bit. Typically, what does a investor like yourself, how do they look at the tech at your stages, and in terms of the due diligence, and like, if I've got an MVP, or how advanced does the tech need to be? Or if I've come to you and I've said I've got a no-code MVP, but I've definitely proved the market with this, but it is now going to take us 250K of whatever check you cut us to rebuild it and build it properly. That's okay?
Yeah, totally fine. I think most investors, all that matters is market pull. We've got one team in our portfolio where they can't build and deliver fast enough because there's such market pull for what they're delivering. And they're all over the place behind the scenes. It looks very shiny on the front, but they're all over the place behind the scenes. And that's very rare. I mean, often I hate educating before I sell, but sometimes there's a little bit of market timing and there's a little bit of education. There's a little bit required. So you just have to be around long enough for luck to find you, kind of thing. So you need to stretch your money, which is only time, for long enough so that you can be in the right place at the right time to sell. But it doesn't matter if it's a no code. It doesn't matter if it's early. It doesn't matter if it's quite developed, because I guarantee as markets shift and as competitors come in, that whole thinking is going to need to move and shift and change
anyway.
with the times.
Yeah. It's the guarantee that I give to our clients is that, when you launch something, what you launch with and what you end up with a year later is going to be two totally different things, So,
yeah, totally. Just get amongst it, deliver, speak to clients, get amongst it. Don't be Frankenstein. That's the other problem that you have in early stage is you get a client saying, I want this, and another client says, I want that. And you build this Frankenstein monster and you're not staying on vision. So one of your superpowers as a founder is learning to say no.
Yeah. Learn to say no, and you've got to trust your gut from time to time. I mean, yes, listen to the market and listen to your thing, but you set this thing up and you have a vision for it, so trust that a little bit. So cool. We touched on cold outreach slightly, so let's park that for now because you said some warm referrals and all that sort of stuff. It sounds like it is still doable.
Cold works. Listen, very quickly. Most investors don't respond to cold outreach, but if you're thoughtful, it's personalized, it's extremely short, you will get responses. And be tenacious. Don't let it go. Do multi-channel. Say, look, I can see you're going to this event, or I can see you invest in this. I really want you on my cap table for these reasons. So be tenacious, personal. Don't spray and pray.
You know what? That tenacious is a really good one, because I think a lot of people get worried about, pissing people off and
rightly so. So. But if it's personal, you don't. I love personalized emails. And I do respond to anything that's thoughtful if it's cold. But I see 20 decks a day, 25 decks a day. So there is a lot of activity. 95% of that is spray. I mean, I get all kinds of random shit. Yeah. Don't do that. Just don't waste anyone's time. Don't waste your time. Don't set up all these automated AI tools. I can sniff straight through it. But if you build a cohort of 100 investors that you want in a cap table, work that list backwards. So work on the ones you least want first. So you learn your game on the ones that you don't want in your cap table, or the ones that you least want on your cap table. Learn the game, be personal, groom their egos, say why you want them, where they are, what they've done. So know the beast.
Yeah.
And if you do that personally, it will reap benefits, I promise you.
Yeah, that is interesting. I sell software for a living, and I've tried some automated outreach and versus sort of researching companies that I think we'd be useful for or whatever, and I have had zero success with AI automated outreach because
you can smell. We're so spam. We're spam to hell. Even the stuff that's not spam is spam. We're just junk to hell.
Yeah. So there's got to be some kind of human element to it, I think. And also if you're manually researching 20 people, and you can add a little bit of value and this person is right for me, whatever it is, then it's such a better use of your time than you've still got to set up this automated crap and everything, so that time could just be spent like researching 20 relevant people.
You'd be surprised. You only need like 4 or 5 ins into the network. And once you've got a two-way dialogue, even if it's not right for them, just give them the ammunition to refer you. So don't ever say, who do you know that would be interested in my offering? Don't make it their homework. So look, I know that I can see that you know John, Dan, and Susie. Here's a little intro blurb with a teaser deck. Do you feel comfortable forwarding it to John, Dan, and Susie for these reasons? 90% of people say, for sure.
Yeah. And also because if you're tenacious, then it gets you away from me. So yeah, see you later. That's perfect. Cool. So let's quickly talk about your new thing that you just posted about this morning. That sounds super interesting. Talk us through that. Talk us through how people can get involved, what you're trying to achieve with that.
It's a very simple prop. So most of what I do through Superseed, my VC firm, is invest at, even though it's pre-seed, it's post-product. It tends to be early seed, depending on your naming conventions, all the way to pre-A. So it's the jam in the sandwich between a little bit of revenue, a little bit of product, kind of knowing what you're doing, all the way to like, we accelerate the journey to Series A. That's our kind of our pitch. But what I want to do is go much earlier, first check, pre-revenue, pre-product. So I'm going to do 500K checks. First checks, it could be back of a napkin. They have to register companies. There are some other very simple criteria. You have to be obviously a legit person, understand your domain in the industrials, in ag tech, in construction, in energy, in logistics, supply, whatever it is, in this space that I know and I like. And what I'll do is I'll do first checks, try and help you fill the round, whether it's 500,000 or 1 million, whatever it is. Try and help you fill the round through my network and then connect you in with our corporate network and then go very, very early. So very smart people, very early in industrials and get that machine running. And then if it all works out, then obviously I've got follow-on funds that can take care of follow-on funding. If not, then that's startup, baby.
That's quite cool. And so what's the best way that people should approach you or get involved with that?
Dan at superseed.com. Have a look at superseed.com, see if we're a right fit for you. I'm Dan Bowyer on LinkedIn. I'm all over the social mainly LinkedIn. And we've started a podcast and we've got some other bits, but mainly LinkedIn, email, just to be super boring.
Amazing. And that 100K from sort of initial getting in touch with you to that 100K sign, what do you think the time frame is on that?
I'm going to do it in 2 weeks if we can.
Wow.
The idea being that it's got to be very simple, super standardized term sheets, very clean. We'll work out it could be convertible, but it'll probably be a price round. It'll probably be 100K at 10% or 100K at 7%. I don't massively care because you either win or you don't win.
Sure.
But it has to be something that's aligned with the business, but we'll make it very simple as far as terms are concerned. Yeah. And I want to do 5 before the summer. And then if it works, then I'm going to set up an incubator that does it on a more systematic way and get more people in and get other speakers and other support networks and get more corporate networks. And so build a bit of gravity around it.
And have I got anything or have I just got a pitch deck and a dream? And
pitch deck and a dream is fine. I think you have to register the company. You have to be serious. I think you can still be working in corporate, but you're about to step out. You put like 20, 30 grand in the bank to kind of tide you away while you go on this crazy entrepreneurial mission. You've registered a company, you've thought about it, and now you're like, where the hell do I go? I'm comfy in that space.
Just before we finish, I've just got to pick up on what you just said there, 20 or 30K in the bank. That I feel like a lot of the founders that I see on LinkedIn or that I speak to don't think about that or don't do that or just think like, I think they think that they can just start like with nothing and just kind of, but to me, it feels like if you haven't got any skin in the game or you haven't sort of taken it seriously, like you say, you've got to be serious, you've got to be real.
Yes.
And to me, having saved up that 20, 30K that you're willing to risk marks you out as someone who's serious.
I think you nailed it on the top. It's a proxy for an investor to go, look, you're not just going to take 200, 300, 400 grand and whistle it down the river. You've spent some time, you've researched your game, you've written this kind of early pitch deck, you've spoken to some clients, you've put some money aside so you can take a bit of a risk and step out of your job to take that risk. All of those proxies are signals to the investor community that you're serious. If it's, I might go and do this. If it doesn't work out, I'll go back to my day job. That's not attractive at all.
No, Dan, that's a wicked point to end on. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Pleasure.
Give us a quick reminder of how people should get in touch with you.
Dan at superseed.com. That's super and seed, the plant seed.com. Dan Bowyer on LinkedIn. Ping me. LinkedIn mail, I'm a nightmare on, but I will get there eventually. All the loves.
So will a lot of people when they start sorting out their UI, and there's an idea for a little startup, actually, a little UI skin that sits on top of the LinkedIn mail.
Horrible beast.
Yeah, I think I'm going to build that in the background. But Dan, thank you very much. Guys, stay tuned for the next episode where we bring you more tech insights and actionable advice to help you scale your business. Bye for now.
Cheers, dude.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to LaunchBase. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share. Stay tuned for more insights on tech, funding, and product launches. See you next time.